Hello and welcome. My name is Deb Colitas, and it is my pleasure to be your first MC of this fabulous, fabulous program today. So I am so excited. We have many opportunities to see individual women, groups of those. You're going to meet my cat, obviously, because he's already here. And this is the joy of just going with it as we are all wonderfully at home ourselves, hopefully, on this beautiful sunny Saturday and all that is ahead of us. So I am here broadcasting live from Nazareth, Pennsylvania today. Ngozi and I've had the blessing of being a part of Rising Together for since the inception a few years ago. So here we are virtual, so excited to launch the day. But before we start, I want to go over just a couple technical things. When we are brought back to the floor each and every time, and that was the wonderful networking room many of you were just in, there is a table set aside for support. Please, it is kind of counterintuitive. Do not click that little help that's in the bottom left-hand corner. Go to the Rising Together table on the left-hand side, and there's always someone there to help you out if you need to. So we're going to get started with a quick video from our partner here of V Summits, as they are the awesome platform that is enabling us to do this today. So V Summits, let's play the video. And thank you, V Summits, for that awesome introduction. Again, they mentioned that not only V Summits is here, but we have a phenomenal crew of wonderful volunteers to help us out today. So discover how that works. Click between tables during those networking sessions, as they're wonderfully valuable. So at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Raymond O'Connell of the city of Allentown. And from there, let's hear his welcome and know where we're going next. Thank you, Mayor. It is a pleasure for you to launch us off this morning. So before I officially bring Ngozi here on stage with us, I want to just take a moment and talk about what I've really been reflecting on in this last year, and that's the difference between aspiration and inspiration. And I feel, especially as women, we can set these lists of what we aspire to, right? You know, I aspire to do something in my career. I aspire to be a mother. I aspire to, go somewhere or do something. But what really impacts us and brings us together is our inspiration. How are we inspired to be the best at what we do? How am I inspired to serve my family, to, be a woman of faith, to do all that I need to do to make sure that the job gets done correctly? So today, as I launch, and again, my wonderful, beautiful friend, Ngozi Bell, please welcome her to the stage, everyone, our wonderful founder and leader of Rising Together. It is my pleasure to have you here today. Ngozi, are you out there? I know, clicking the mic on and off. And for those of you who are viewers today, thank you for any of the glitches, because right now we're learning this and when we're figuring it out. There you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wow. You're welcome. I'm going to hide myself now and give you the stage.
Oh, thank you so much, Deb. I'm so excited to have you here again. It's been 4 years in the making. So we've been doing this for a while. It's been a great journey. And I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who is here today. And certainly thank you to the mayor for such a wonderful speech. And Deb said aspiration, inspiration. I love that. So I just want to give a small talk about she, right? Because that is what today is representative of, right? So my title is, where is she? Where is she? And, you can sort of see that from different perspectives, but I hope you will just kind of stay with me today and listen to where I'm coming from. So the question could be just as important if you ask, who is she? Right? Women are known for their amazing. They're known for their capability, their capacity. Women are also known for disenfranchisement. Hopefully that's correct. They're known for not enough, not quite there. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about, I kind of want to talk beyond the who, not because the who does not matter, but because in today's world, after a pandemic, being online, hibernating, vaccinating, re-engaging, and resetting, the who that we are is immeasurable. The course we've run is irresistible. The lives we live are complex. as we've all experienced. So if we go there today, we just might not come back. So, so the question really is, where is she? Where are you? Where is your sister? Where's your daughter? Where's your friend? Where's your mother? Where is she, right? So here's some numbers. According to the World Economic Forum in Western Europe, she has 76.7% gender parity, right? In the Americas, she has 26.6% of high-level political offices. Globally, she has taken the reins of 26% of all CEO offices, a la Forbes. 41.8% of professors in the USA, 21% of full-time professors. So these are statistics, right? Some are great, some are not so great. But the where I want to talk about is, where is she in her biology? You know, your biology, our biology, because she belongs to us, right? So if you're female, you're part of a functional, complex, and amazing entity that makes up more than 50.8% of the global population. So you're really in the majority if you're female. She also owns 1% of its wealth and makes 80% of household healthcare decisions. So the question turns to us, all of us, you know, the men, the women, the boys, the girls, that the female is vital, right? So do you know where her biology is? That's the real question. So are you aware of her circadian rhythm? This essentially is this noon to midnight cycle that controls the sleep to wake cycle in all humans. So whether you're a man or woman, there's a circadian rhythm that you experience. It tells us when we're optimized to do different tasks. So for example, at 7:30 in the morning, melatonin secretion stops. So this is ultimately the best time to get up because melatonin is a substance that helps us to reduce our sleep-wake cycle. Then onto her infradian rhythm. The infradian rhythm is female specific. It describes hormonal fluctuations. So the question I'm just asking is, are we taking time to look after this she that is so fundamentally important to our universe, that is now the bigger population in terms of size, right? Are we taking time for her? Today, what was niche has become a main thing. The femtech industry, right? So femtech is female-specific technology that uses innovation, right? It is used to address a large percentage of population of which women are. In 2014, the venture capital world invested $225 million in this sector. By 2020, $1 billion. And the expectation is that by 2050 or 2025, to be specific, this will be a $50 billion market. So people are taking notice. Okay, people are understanding that not only is this necessary for the upkeep of society long term, but it's also a very great place for investment. So she's worth your investment. She's worth you looking at her from a stock perspective, because some of these companies are becoming listed. She's worth you putting everything you have to make sure that she's healthy, that she survives the long term, because she's responsible for the development of society. So let's bring justice to women. Let's create justice with women. Let's make justice for posterity. Let's bring justice to ourselves and love each other honestly. Thank you. Thank you so much. I just wanted to share those words with you.
Thank you, Ngozi, so much as well. Amazing blessings, and just everyone who's here. It's so exciting that up in that upper left-hand corner, I see our numbers rising already. So we're at 20, now we're at 30. So we're going to see where we're at today. Ngozi, before I bring Firuzi up here, are there anything else technically that we should be talking about with our audience here? As you can see, there's a thread going. People are asking tech questions. V-Summits is hopping right in. Our volunteers are hopping right in. So if you have an issue, don't hesitate. Hop on in there. I also love the encouraging words. So those of us presenting, we're just presenting to our rooms and our houses. So if you have an encouraging word or you love something, this is where we can clap for each other, you know, put a smiley face emoji, anything of that nature. Have we covered it all so far, Ngozi?
You've done a fantastic job. You have done an awesome job. And I just wanted to add that we should remember that this is our space. So we can enjoy, we can laugh, we can engage, we can remember, and we can learn because some of the people here are going to teach us a lot of amazing things. So thanks. Awesome. So be ready to learn too.
Excellent. That's fantastic. So as I said, we've made it 14 minutes in. We haven't broken the internet yet. So that's fantastic. So at this moment of time, I would love to bring up Firuzi Desai. She is the director of Vedanta Dance Academy. Vedanta Dance has wonderfully been a part of our program before with incredible young dancers and all that they're doing. So if Firuzi is out there, please come on up. To be able to introduce your phenomenal dance academy and your phenomenal individuals that are dancing with us today along the way. And these are those wonderful lag moments where now I know next year, oh gosh, I hope we're not virtual next year, but we'll do virtual and in person next year. I'll have to have some extra material ready to go as we wait in between these different moments. But as you go along today, this is a wonderful thing, especially, put it in your ears, be listening. I know that, you might be folding laundry, catching up on some work at the same time of what's going on. And that's okay. And that's part of the change of it all. You may meet my 16-year-old son at some moment asking a random question about not being able to find his shoes. But okay, I see that Firuzi's having some technical difficulties. Not a problem. We'll move her right back on in on things. So if Chris and Ash, if you want to let me know if we're flipping anything in the schedule right now, I'm happy to do that. But we're bringing her on video. All right. So this is the wonderful nature. I am not a broadcaster, but I know there will be some later on today who are in broadcasting. So we'll figure it out as we go about. Now, something I want to push everyone to do today. You're seeing all these wonderful names that are appearing in that feed. Hop on LinkedIn, start sending some connections saying, hey, I saw you at Rising Together, would love to be a support. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. If you're on Clubhouse, that's another Rising platform. Today is not only about today, it's about how we can take our messaging with one another as women, especially locally here in the Lehigh Valley. We have a powerhouse of individuals who make a difference each and every day in what they do and how they do it. So take the connections beyond this moment. That is something that has been absolutely fabulous from 4 years ago now, is the relationships that have been built beyond the day. As you see someone at a Penn State Launchbox meetup or a chamber event or a women's meeting. And it's amazing round and round how we all are connected in what we do together. So here's another check-in with Chris. How's Firuzi doing out there? It's like lost in cyberspace, which is not a good feeling. We've all been there this year, right? We've shown up to a Zoom and we're the only ones there and we're wondering what we did. But it's certainly been of interest with things. All right, we're gonna move forward with the video. We will get Firuzi up here definitely, because we've got 2 dance specials today, which is fantastic from her academy. No worries, Firuzi, we're gonna be able to get you in, not a problem. And we'll continue on with the show. So please welcome the Vedanta Dance. I'm hearing a massive round of applause right now. I mean, amazing. The talent, just thank you so much, Firuzi and the Vedanta Dance Academy, for sharing with us today. We will be bringing them back on stage later. And hopefully by that time, Firuzi will be here because I know there's wonderful significance to all that those girls have put their hard work into to supply that with us today. So that's awesome. So before we move forward, a couple just little details. I am one of 3 MCs today. When we head to our first networking break, then the fabulous Favor Ufandu will take over. She will take us to the next networking break, and then the awesome Genesis Ortega will come up here. So we'll be switching off roles today and everything. So it's absolutely fantastic as we all switch around and learn what needs to be done. So we're heading into our first panel now. We're going to have panels, awards, speakers, things of that nature. Yes, Ashley, you're here.
Hi, everybody. I'm not sure what's going on, but we've had a few technical difficulties. So I wanted to let everybody know that refreshing your browser is your best friend. So those of you, if you're speaking, there's a couple speakers that I know that were here earlier that weren't having any issues. but we're not seeing them pop up on participants. So if you're speaking, if you could refresh your browser, I think that might help us. All right. So I just messaged Firuzi, but I just wanted to tell everyone, just refresh and we should be good to go. Deb, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I'll pause for then. I'll hold things out for another 30 seconds to a minute. Let know the refresh. The technical skills of global pandemic in 2020 and 2021 would instill upon us the number of calls that we've had where we all wait patiently. And I think that's a good thing. We can be very quick, and I am very guilty of this, of how we can become frustrated with ourselves or others if they're not matching the level where we're at. But, you know, I hope, especially as women, this whole idea that we're working from home, it's given an appreciation of all of the more traditional role that we've had in taking care of the household, what it actually takes. Because when you have the blessing of a family that is forced to be together for a certain amount of time, you are going to see your phenomenal strengths, and you're also going to have the amazing trials that go along with it. But as in my house, you know, through our faith and our family, it's how you come through that together in the end that, you know, truly makes a difference. So as our family today, and hey, numbers update, we now have 43 phenomenal people who have joined the platform. Thank you today for joining Rising Together. I am Deb Colitas, the first MC of today. On the right-hand side, there's a general chat. Please clap, applause, compliment. This is being recorded wonderfully. So as we talk to Ngozi later on, we'll find out how that will be available. But as we move forward, the first presentation here, I'm going to bring Dr. Christine Martey-Ochola up in just a moment as our moderator. I, as the MC, will appear back on the screen when you have about 1 to 2 minutes left in your time. That way, you know that we'll keep that together. So for those of you on this panel, just be aware of the time frame. We're not rushing today, but at the same time, there's a lot of fabulous women that we need to get to. So without further ado, let me bring up Dr. Christine Martey-Ochola along the way. And the phenomenal topic of this first forum together is wait, men lean in too. And lean in, of course, the phrase has been made famous by the Facebook COO of things, but it's the whole idea of grabbing opportunities without hesitation. And obviously today, I'm in an opportunity, and without hesitation, I'm moving this forward. So Dr. Ochola, Christine, it is phenomenal to see you today. Thank you so much for taking our first panel. And I will see you just a couple minutes before about 1:10 as things begin wrapping up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deb. I appreciate everything. And thank you, Ngozi. Welcome to everyone, and really looking forward to a dynamic conversation around this very topic of men leaning in and grabbing the opportunity to have women be a part of that conversation, be a part of the table, take a seat at that table, and really create space, right? And so we're going to have 3 amazing leaders that are in our community welcomed to the platform, and that'll be Dr. Vasu Singh. She is a physician right there in the Lehigh Valley. And then we'll also have Kim Fraites. She is the CEO of Girl Scouts of Eastern Pennsylvania. And I believe I saw Kim on. And then we'll also have Dr. Rita Jones. She's the director of the Center of Gender Equity in the Office of Diversity, Inclusion and Equity at Lehigh University. Okay, so I see that Kim did indicate that she's here. V-Summit's team, maybe you can bring her onto the stage when you have an opportunity, as well as Rita Jones. While we're having both Rita and Kim brought on stage, I thought I might talk a little bit about why it's so important that we have this conversation around men leaning in. So prior to arriving at this platform, Ngozi had elevated the question. Should we really ask the question, what can men do to help level this playing field, close this gender gap? Why is it important to address that gender gap? And I found a study that was done by McKinsey & Co., right? in partnership with the Women's Economic Forum. And they had noted that when companies have a higher percentage of women in top management, they have better financial performance. There was a study of 89 companies in Europe over a period of 3 years, and they found that 64% of those companies had a significant share growth increase relative to companies that did not have as diverse a group of leaders that included women. 353 Fortune 500 companies were assessed by Catalyst. And what they found is that there was a 35% higher return in companies that had reduced gender parity at the executive leadership level as compared to those that weren't. So we have to ask ourselves, what's the pipeline? How do we get to that place where we can have, more gender parity? The team that we have with us today are going to talk about multiple things. We're not only going to focus on what's happening in the stock market when women are put in quotes, into some of these leadership roles. We're going to talk about how does it start? So Kim works with Girl Scouts. She runs an organization, right? Or she leads an organization that is really coming in from a grassroots level and saying, what do we need to do with our young leaders who happen to be ladies, right? In order to be able to take that global stage. And then we have Dr. Vasu Singh, who, like I said, is a physician, who's journeyed that and has a global perspective on what some other countries are even doing to ensure that we can have women not only arrive at that table of leadership, but actually be successful in it. And then we have Dr. Rita Jones, right, who is specifically looking at gender equity at the collegiate level, which is extremely important when we start to look at what's going on in the academe. So I'm excited to have this group here with us. I'm giving you a little bit of background on who they are. I know we're still waiting on Rita to be brought onto the platform, but because it's an amazing topic, and I know we don't have a ton of time, I would love for us to just jump right into this conversation. And Vasu and Kim, thank you so much for being here, and Rita as well. So I think I will start with Vasu, okay? And what I would love for you to do is to maybe in about 3 minutes, give us a snapshot, right, of what your experience as a female leader has been, and share with us, a time when you felt you've been able to get the type of support from your male counterparts that have enabled you to arrive at a place of success.
Thank you, Christine.
And you have about 3 minutes to
Sure. Thank you, Christine, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, so this is a very important question, and I'm glad you asked me this question, Christine. I will start off with sharing my own journey and giving an example that I have experienced in my lifetime. So I came to United States just like any other immigrant in 1996 as a medical doctor, and I came in with 2 suitcases, one full of books, one full of clothes, and maybe $150 in my wallet, just like any other immigrant who arrives in this country. But I felt that I was given many opportunities, timely support, and my family was with me. My husband, we were just starting our career at that time, but he supported me at each and every stop and wherever I needed him. My friends stood up with me, and so it was a huge community that actually supported me. So when I look back, I think that if I did not have that effective, timely support, I wouldn't be able to achieve and fulfill my dreams and to be able to join this panel today in my capacity that I'm in. So that's where I'd like to end.
Thank you so much, Vasu. I mean, I think you bring up a critical component around support, there's the aspirations that we may have, right?
Yes.
Our goals, but also that intentional support that happens within our home ecosystem that may sometimes not necessarily be seen. What about you, Kim? Give us your, take on what your experience has been as a leader in a pretty large and, influential organization, and having that, interface with some of the young people, and maybe also share a story with us when you felt you got support in order to be able to, or as part of, I mean, not to say in order to, but as part of your journey to success.
Sure, and thank you, Christine, and thank you to Ngozi for this opportunity to participate today. I have had the unique opportunity to work in the nonprofit world my entire career, and it's been an intentional choice, but I also see it as a true blessing and a gift. My experience has spanned classical music performance and outreach to serving the best orchestra in the world, the Philadelphia Orchestra. And I also had an absolute blast and growth opportunity serving the Franklin Institute Science Museum, a sister museum to our beloved Da Vinci Science Center. And for the past 10 years, I've been serving Girl Scouts of Eastern Pennsylvania, building girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. There have certainly been times in my career where I have been misunderstood, overlooked, and marginalized by male colleagues and bosses. And in those instances, and I believe in every life experience, I had two choices: to discover more about the situation personally and empathetically, or to become defensive, hurt, and shut down, providing no opportunity to grow. Thankfully, I have chosen the discovery mode every time. This includes time for self-reflection, having the courage to speak directly with male colleagues and bosses, and to inquire more about the situation to understand their perspective. In those direct and personal conversations, not in group settings, I was also able to share my perspective, and oftentimes it was not a perspective that had been thought of before. This enabled me to discern what was comfortable for me moving forward, and also provided my male colleagues the opportunity to grow their empathy and have a more holistic perspective of the situation. I've also been the beneficiary of a lot of love, guidance, and direct feedback like Vasu from incredible men, starting with my dad, my big brother, and even my baby brother, and some important friends along the way. I keep these people close to me throughout my life journey, and they are often able to point out behaviors or patterns they see in me that are concerning or positive. And I reach out to them for their perspectives when working through challenging situations. There have also been a few good men in my professional career who have mentored me and have given me opportunities before I have proven myself. And these opportunities were risks for them to take, but they believed in me, provided direct and sometimes difficult feedback, and were there for me along the way, ensuring my success. I am forever grateful to these men and hope to provide the same opportunities, space, and grace to mentees along our shared journeys.
Thank you, Kim. I mean, boy, you've touched on so many aspects of this lean-in idea, right? Where, again, the guys decided not to be spectators, and I would say the same for Vasu as well, not to be spectators, not even just to be allies, but to be co-conspirators, right? To be an active part of that process of bringing, opening those doors, providing that mentorship, giving those ideas of where there was an opportunity, because a lot of that does require intention, and so, even as, and it's unfortunate that Rita is still not able to come on yet. I'm hoping and praying that that she'll be able to jump on to give us her perspective. But I was thinking about a convo we had earlier on during prep when Vasu, talks a little bit about the importance of looking at models that seem to be working in creating an environment, let me say, for us to really strengthen that pipeline of women in leadership. So Vasu, I mean, I wonder if maybe you can speak to some of the past conversations we had with regards to what's going on in other countries and communities and ways in which they've started, let me say, to even the playing field. so that, you know, women can attain those degrees if that's what they're seeking, right? Or start those businesses, or enter, sit, and actually be comfortable in that C-suite space. Especially from a policy perspective, if you can touch on that a little bit, and then also from community.
Sure. Thank you, Christine. Thank you so much. So I will, you know, as I'll try to focus a little bit on the Indian diaspora and to some critical and very important policies and reforms that have taken place in countries like India. And I emphasize India because of my ethnicity and my roots to India. Let me just step back a little bit and maybe go to about many hundreds before BC. Women, if you read the Hindu scriptures or, you know, the ancient Vedas, I mean, women have enjoyed the best elite status that anybody could actually imagine. Women, in fact, were given the most important portfolios in that beautiful land. They actually held positions like education. They were in charge of, hey, you made it. Good. So education, finance, portfolios, defense, power, and whatnot. And these were some of the very revered women, as I said, few hundred BC. But as changes happened, a lot of invasions happened in that land, and the landscape changed, and women actually lost their status, and everything sort of plummeted, and things changed forever. But in the last, I'd say, 2 decades or last 10 years, there's been some tremendous policy changes, and I am very optimistic. And it is just fascinating for me to see that what has been done in countries like India. And because I'm I live in the United States, but I also keep an eye on what's going on in that country. So I always make these subtle sort of comparisons. So I would just highlight, a few reforms that have taken place recently and they are really very powerful in my opinion. The first is I would like to mention about the female feticide. As you know, that's a very patriarchal society, and females, they're considered responsibility, liability, and so female feticide, which is, if you find out that your fetus is female, then you end up, terminating the fetus. It was a very, very common practice, but the government has put forth very rigorous, harsh penalties at every level, right from the parents' decision to testing to physicians, terminating the fetuses. And this is, I think, a win-win situation for women. So people could be getting life imprisonment if you practice any of those things. So that, I think, is a very powerful reform, and it gives me chills, and it makes me very happy at the same time. The second, again, another very dear, very close to my heart is the changes in the policies in terms of women and maternity care and postpartum care, paternity care, and the child care. I mean, look where we are in the United States. It's 2021, but still, I mean, my heart literally cries, and I'm in despair when I have to clear some of these women to return to work postpartum, like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Oh my gosh, do you think 8 weeks is enough for women to return to work? And we are still battling, and we are still trying to get women more opportunity to have longer duration of time to spend with babies, to encourage, breastfeed, to take care of their families, put themselves together emotionally and physically. But we are still, it is hard in this country. But whereas if you, look at the policies, say England, for example, mothers get 1 year paid postpartum time off with their job secured. Same as with Canada. India recently, a few years ago, they put a very strict reform and policy in place where now mothers can get up to 6 months paid postpartum time off. And I think that's pretty decent time in my opinion, because I've raised 3 kids. I've gone through this process myself. So I think it may take up to 6 months plus to mothers to, get back to their baseline. And even, paternity care is included in the Indian reform, and childcare. If a company has more than 50 employees, then the company is also liable for providing childcare. So I think those are some of the biggest obstacles and roadblocks that we as women face. And if if these problems are addressed at the policy level, women can effectively return to workforce and be more productive. I mean, I see moms who are returning to work and then they're tearing, they're crying there because they're an emotional wreck after 6 weeks. They don't want to go back to work. And then we encourage breastfeeding at the same time. How is that possible? Like, to be an effective breastfeeder, moms need to have really emotionally very stable mindset, to spend a lot of time with the babies, to have those reflexes come on. But if we are sending them back to work, that's not possible. So, so I think that policy is very dear to me, that has been put forward in India. And another one is, it's called Beti Padhao Desh Bachao, which is, if you educate, and if you, if your women are successful, if your women are educated, your nation is going to be the stronger nation. So they work very hard on this, and especially the underprivileged, females or babies. As soon as the girls are born, the government at the federal and at the state level, the money goes into the girls' account. This money can only be touched for education and educational resources to ensure that these girls are able to complete their higher education, be more effective, have more tools, be successful, independent, and then return to work. So I think these are very, in my opinion, I think these are very bold steps and very good sort of policies. And look at the land there. I mean, people have, in fact, they've been able to, the first women prime minister of Sri Lanka. She was the first woman prime minister in the world. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister of India, very effective and very powerful player in the international leadership. Then we had Mrs. Benazir Bhutto from Pakistan. She was also a very powerful prime minister in Pakistan. So that region, if you really look at it, I mean, has produced many powerful women leaders in the world. And here in the United States, we are waiting to have one female president. So I think it's a long way to go. We have done some remarkable job. We've done a lot of things, and I can go on and on, but I know that we have some time limitations. So I'll pause there.
Thank you so much, Vasu. And I think that, again, there's so much fodder with what you've shared, whether it's the challenges that women have continued to go through in order to be able to sustain themselves and even try to thrive, but also recommendations that I think you've outlined based on what's going on in other communities and societies. And so I'm hoping that for our audience members who've been kind of trying to think through, hey, what are some things we can incorporate as we're going along? I think there's quite a bit there. I would love to be able to welcome Rita to the platform. Rita, thank you so much again for your patience and your poise. I don't know how you're doing it, because I'd be like a hot mess right now if I was trying to get onto a platform and I couldn't. So kudos to you, my dear. But that's again what female leadership looks like, right? She just slid right in and it's like, okay, I'm ready to do this, right? So Rita, thank you. And I would love for you to again, kind of just take a few moments to walk us through what it's looked like for you being a female leader. If you could share with us a moment that you felt that a man leaned in that helped kind of just open those doors or create spaces for you to be able to be successful. And if it's possible to thread in, policies that you found have been favorable for supporting female achievement, especially when we're looking at business or the academia.
Happy to.
I know that was a lot.
That's good. Hello, everyone.
I was trying to cram it all in.
Really sorry for my delay. I think that I had complete faith in the vSummit crew to get me on here. And I was hearing and seeing everything and chatting. So I was like, I know something's working. So I felt like, it's all right. It's all good. So yes, Rita Jones, Director of the Center for Gender Equity at Lehigh University. I use the she suite of pronouns. And thinking about those experiences where could have used a little more support from a male colleague, and then spaces where I received that. I'm in a previous iteration of myself, I was directing a women's studies program, and we were at a big college welcome to new faculty, and a program director stood up and said, here's a new person who's coming in. He is going to be teaching around women and gender issues. This is the first time our university has ever had anyone do these things. And here I am sitting there thinking, what? I direct a whole program that does this. And it was astonishing to just be sitting in that and just feeling like our whole program was invisible, that nothing that I had been doing or we had been doing had mattered. And suddenly here was a man bringing in another man saying, and now finally we can get this, taken care of. So could have used a little more acknowledgement there. I think there was a moment where a colleague could have been a little more aware of his situation. In other positions, though, I've had amazing supervisors who have started conversations in spaces and said, and I know that Rita has done some work on this. So Rita, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you have been doing in this area? And what I really like about that is here is a man who is calling out my name and bringing me into the space to join the conversation and allowing me to use my voice to say what I have done, as opposed to, here's Rita, she's done blank, blank, and blank. We're really happy about that. Do you want to add anything? Like that kind of phrase never really helps me. I'm like, well, no, because you just told me everyone what I was doing. But instead, this supervisor has allowed me to say, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm contributing, and welcomes me into the conversation. So those are kind of a little bit of those examples. In terms of policies, totally agree with Vasu's comments. There are large conversations around thinking about childbearing, child carrying, lactation, and the other part of that is elder care. A lot of times women are sort of in that middle position where I'm caring for youth, and then I maybe have a little free time, and then I'm caring for my elders. And what about that spot? Where are there moments where we can understand that? So I think that thinking about leave, family leave, and also requiring that everyone takes those leaves, because research shows that if organizations or corporations have leave policies and only women take them, then men keep shooting up the ladder, and it looks like something that it's only for women. So making sure that everyone takes those leaves. It's also very healthy for men, trans folk, and gender nonconforming folk to take those leaves and know that they are welcome to do that in the same way that women are. And then no one is put in an inequitable position. So that's just a little snippet about what I would say.
Thank you so much, Rita. I think once again, your recommendations parlay really well with what Vasu talked about from a national policy making perspective and creating an intentional environment, that actually enables that. And when you share the story, or at least the moment when you heard, the one individual say, we've not really been doing this, and we're just initiating it. It got me thinking about a Zulu greeting, right? So in Zulu in Southern Africa, when I think it's one of the greetings, it says Sawubona, and Sawubona means I see you, and then the response to that is Ngikona, which means I am here, right? So even when we have these, and there's multiple layers within that simple greeting, right? It's not just, hi, how are ya? It's, I actually see you. And then the other person's not just saying, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. They're saying, I'm here. So that now fosters a conversation. It fosters people to be seen, and it enables voice to be brought forward. And I think that those are just some of those aspects around the leaning in component, that you described with the leaders later on that you've run into, who have said, no, wait, actually I see Rita and she is here, so therefore her voice. And I think that those, again, ways in which we can continue to work with our male counterparts to create environments that allow everybody to be seen, not only the women, but the men as well. And so with that, I think it's a good transition, to Kim, right? Because Kim, again, she works with an organization that really fosters leadership development in young, in girls leading up to ladies, and then, and then from there. And Kim, I'm curious what it's like on your end, right? Because we're talking Girl Scouts. So it's from a gender perspective, it's pretty homogeneous. How do you work with, your community in that regard to help them prepare entering a more heterogeneous leadership type environment?
I just want to say too, I'm sure everybody who's listening is so inspired by everybody's words, and I am equally inspired by the experiences and work. And I just wanted to pause and say that I'm completely overwhelmed by the expertise and also the purpose that all of the women here are bringing to their work. So at Girl Scouts, obviously we're, building girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. And we believe that they can do that by focusing on 3 keys to leadership. Girls will discover more about themselves and develop a strong sense of themselves. They'll connect with other people like we are today and really value the power of diversity. So they get out of their just home environments and meet others. And then they will learn to individually and collectively take action to provide an innovation when they see an injustice of any kind, big or small. And what we do is we provide access to all girls to diverse programming in an all-girl environment, as you were mentioning. Can you still hear me? Yes, okay. So that all-girl environment is incredibly important, where girls can expand their opportunities and be less inclined, or to be able to do things that they may be less inclined to do in that co-ed environment. So the programs that we offer are in STEM. Girls are exploring cybersecurity badges as early as kindergarten up through 12th grade. They are doing outdoor adventures like high and low ropes courses. And what we know is that girls take more risks and they grow more in this all-girl environment on these adventure experiences. And then with life skills, we offer civic engagement opportunities, communication, healthy living. And then, of course, we all know our big entrepreneurship program, the Cookie Program, which is the largest girl-led business in the world, preparing girls for a lot of different opportunities in business. So girls also have opportunities to meet men and women in careers that they might not otherwise be thinking about. Careers that make a positive impact and change the world. Through all of our programs, girls are discovering that strong sense of self so that they have confidence in themselves and their abilities to form positive identities. They also form and exhibit positive values, ethically, honestly, and responsibly, showing concern for others. They seek challenges and learn from setbacks, taking appropriate risks, sometimes failing and learning from their mistakes. They develop and maintain healthy relationships by communicating their feelings directly and resolving conflicts constructively. And then they are part of the community problem solving, where girls desire to contribute to the world in purposeful and meaningful ways. Through Girl Scouts, then we promote empathy in leadership, like we've been talking about today. And our girls recognize that empathy is their personal responsibility and is the personal responsibility of others. And that understanding inclusion is incredibly important for others and for themselves. So when girls develop these 5 key outcomes that I was talking about earlier, they're happier, healthier, and less likely to engage in problem behaviors or to feel victimized. I think at the end of the day, our Girl Scouts are leaders in whatever they do, whether they're participating in sports, in band, in the classroom, in their homes. Through the single-sex environment, they learn that they can do many things that they try, so that when they enter back into co-ed environments, school and work and otherwise, they then have the confidence to share their skills and competencies with courage, confidence, and character.
I see in the chat that Christine is having some technical difficulties, just like I did.
Absolutely. Oh, you ladies are doing awesome. And the comments coming in, if you're seeing them, is so motivational with things. So I am going to, this is how we fly with it and everything. So let's pass this off from person to person while Christine is able to come back. So Kim, since you were there, what I'm going to say is, all right, you get to now toss a question to the other two panelists, and then you can talk, and then just keep going on like that, because I think this natural conversation is exactly where we want to be. As I know 3 phenomenal women here to take it with us, and I'll pop in as needed along the way. So don't worry, you're not alone.
Thank you.
Great. So I guess I'll just pop it to Vasu and just say, one of the things that we were talking about in preparing for today was, how we've all been impacted by COVID-19. And what are some of the post-pandemic opportunities that you're thinking about to provide a more equitable environment for women in the workforce?
Sure. So, Kim, as we were discussing, I think that it's everybody's been impacted with the pandemic, whether it's males or females, people at every level. This was totally unprecedented, as we know, and the entire world is actually impacted, right? So my ask to people is that, this is going to be a concerted effort, and it has to, then only it'll be effective. So wherever we see that men need help, women need to step up and help men, or vice versa. But in my opinion, because I was on the front lines, and I've, had diverse and wide range of families that I cater to, and I've seen different scenarios. But so just my observation here is that specifically mothers who are now working from home, I think they had to go through some very difficult times, because now they are not only mothers, they are also a full-time workforce. They are the childcare, they are acting as teachers. And if you have pets, forget about it. Then you have to take care of the pets as well. And so it was a nightmare that some mothers have gone through during these difficult times. And I've seen that firsthand, and it was very painful to see what some of moms have gone through. Many have lost jobs, or have gone through anxiety, depression, insomnia, panic attacks, and I can go on and on and on. I have not prescribed so many anti-anxiety and insomnia medicines as I did in the last several months to moms. So I feel my ask to both sides on the aisle is that people should just step back a little bit, take a deep breath, relax. Every situation is unique, and we got to make it work. No need to get panic. We are all together. If you need help, please do not shy away from that. Reach out, whether it's your friends, your neighbors, family, or people that you support. So this is going to be it's probably going to take a long time until we are back to where we were, and it's still going to be rough for many of us. So I think we all need to support each other. If I see my family or friends, I think I should just step up and reach out if they don't. So it's going to be a lot of sort of community work that I think that's going to make the situation better. So I'll end there.
I could pop on, maybe we'll round robin it. So I think building on the amazing suggestions that Vasu is saying is also reminding women that this superwoman image that we've been sold is maybe not the best thing. For some people that feels perfect and they thrive in that kind of space, and for others that might not work, and maybe it's time that some of us push back against that and say, I don't need to do it all. I'm not sure why I'm expected to do it all, or maybe I'll do it all but not all at the same time. So finding ways to have that kind of kindness to ourselves, I think, is really important. I love the way that Vasu was talking about this in terms of the individual. Like, each of us does have agency. We have the ability to make changes in our lives, to say yes to things or no to things, or that sounds great, but not right now. I'm also thinking in terms of COVID, this is an opportunity for us to really reimagine our whole structure of why we work, how we parent, how we love, and really reimagine why do we have these specific trajectories? Why in the United States do we think that children have to graduate at age 18? What if they don't graduate until they're 20 because they had an off year or two? What about kids of migrant families who are moving from school district to school district who fall behind? If we started even there, I'm like imagining this world where, okay, and then maybe when I'm in college, I'm there for 6 years, or maybe I'm there for 2, and then I go do some stuff, and then I come back, and I'm in different phases of my life instead of being shoved into this narrow box. And then in the workforce, what if, you know what, when my kid was 3, and then when my kid was 13, my energies were totally different in just that little 10-year period. So when they were 3, I was exhausted. Like, what could I, provide to the workplace? Not probably my best self. When they were 13, a much better self, because they were in school and I had energy and I wasn't entertaining them all the time. So what if we imagined, new work environments where, oh, you want to be here for half of a week? Cool. When you're ready to be here more or less? Cool. But that flexibility is what I would love to see post-COVID, or in what I call the after times. I'm waiting for the after times. Kim, what about you?
I totally agree. I think that diving board into a different realm is what COVID has provided in so many different ways. And so recognizing that women thrive in different ways, every person is different. How can your organization be open to the needs of your employees? And, if nothing else, we've learned that working remotely is possible in many, many, many cases. Obviously, there are some jobs where that's not possible, but in many jobs it is. We've had several employees who, have reduced their hours, or are working alternative hours, or are hoping that when we reopen, whatever that means or whatever that looks like, they can have a hybrid sort of environment. And we certainly have worked with everybody to accommodate those things. I think, some folks also recognize that maybe they aren't their best selves in the job that they had before, being open to maybe shifting into a role that meets their needs now. So I think that whole flexibility thing that you were talking about, Rita, is so important. And, we just have to be open to the conversation and provide a space where people feel comfortable asking for what they need.
So it's hard to, digitally, I just kind of appear, right? It's not like you're easing in and there's an etiquette of what's going on. So no, unfortunately, yes, Christine is not able to connect back on, but we have about 4 minutes in this conversation. And I love how, we have the global, we have, individualized here in the Lehigh Valley. I would love to just go around as we send our audience off with these phenomenal empowerment message today of where does it start? If we can take it back to every single of our 72 participants now in this, what is an actionable item from your perspective and your experience that can be taken now that continues to push all of the progress that is happening forward and continues to work on what needs to be done as we bring it back into the wait? Men lean in too. So what does that look like all together? Does anyone want to go ahead and start with that?
I could
go for it, Rita. Thank you.
Start there. So if I'm, talking to my men colleagues, I would say I really encourage you to do a little more listening, a little more learning. In a patriarchal society, women, trans folk, and gender nonconforming folk all have to learn what men's issues are. But men don't have to learn about anybody else's issues because their issues are considered the norm or the standard. So I would encourage men to, go out, go do a little reading, go check some blogs, follow some Instagram or TikToks, whatever, floats your boat. But find out, what are your colleagues who identify as women, trans, or gender nonconforming? What are they dealing with at work? What are the potential awesome things that they could bring to the table, but no one's asking them? And then say their name. say, I've heard this big thing. Why isn't this person at this table? Why aren't we talking to her? You know, that was actually her idea, not you, guy, who said what she just said. So let's go back to the woman who said it first. So I think that that's an opportunity that each of us could take back to some of our men colleagues, asking just one person, hey, can I talk to you for a little bit? I have something I want to ask you to do. I want you to try this on.
Oh, that's phenomenal, Rita. Thank you. Yeah, it's that one person at a time making that effort and making that difference. Vasu, what would your nudge be for everyone?
Yes. So I, I'm a mother of 3 children, and I have a son, 2 daughters. My ask is that these conversations should, it's a model that I think it's a very unique model. So we should start these conversations at home. Like, I need to teach my son when he's growing. I need to make him aware of all these issues at a very early on age, so that this becomes his habit and he learns from there. So, and then, and from the policy level too. So it should start from the highest office in the country and it should trickle down. So I think it's a 2-way approach. It's a big work. I mean, this is a very old phenomena. It's not going to go overnight. But yes, we have to take small steps. So the teachers, for example, in school, and which I know they do an incredible job, but wherever we find opportunity, our young men, our boys, they need to be taught. And at the same time, the girls need to be taught as well. So that's my ask for the parents, teachers, and the society in general.
No, that's wonderful. Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. And Kim.
I think I would just say, ask yourself, when you're reacting to something, if you're in discover mode or defense mode. And if you find yourself in defense mode, is there any way that you can take a pause and get into a discovery mode? Because in that mode, you grow. And growth looks like any number of different things. And that's, for men and for women. And, I think that, just pausing to ask that one question can open up a whole new world.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, again, thank you to the 3 of you. It is all about, I think, reflection. Accountability always starts with ourselves first, I firmly believe in, but then it's how can we take that to others and be the example, point out those, like Rita said, that yes, no, this came from you, but then also not be afraid to invite the conversations of those who are not speaking up to be a part of that conversation. So thank you again. And thank you for our phenomenal moderator. The tech support continues here, and we're gonna move on with our presentation. So ladies, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And please, as we are heading into the networking session, find these women, talk to them, connect with them. I've already gotten a few more LinkedIn requests here, so I've got my dual screens going. It's a little bit crazy, but it's a lot of fun. So next up, what we have here, please say goodbye, big waves.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure to bring up Cheryl Johnson Watts, as she is speaking on character, ethics, and integrity. And let me tell you, this woman can speak about character, ethics, and integrity, a woman's value in civic responsibility, governance, and living in the world. It has been a pleasure, there she is, Cheryl, to get to know her over the past couple of years through Rising Together. So thank you so much for being back with us, and welcome today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much to Ngozi Bell and the entire team for selecting me once again to participate, and this year as a speaker. The topic for me was assigned to me, and I've had a year to ponder it. It was a challenge in the sense of, I saw the topic and I said, I wonder why she chose me. And I realized the level of confidence that she had in my ability to convey a word of inspiration on this topic, that I was honored because it spoke so much about Ngozi and her vision of me. And I really appreciate that. And we as women have to consider what small statement can have the most powerful impact on the life of another woman. Because sometimes you can be in the trenches day in and day out and not know who's watching, and not know the sacrifices that you make, and not know what your commitment means to them. So I want to thank Ngozi for this opportunity to speak. I also just want to mention very briefly that throughout my life, I'm 57 years old. A lot of times people say, oh, I thought you were, so younger or what have you, but I'm letting the gray come in so that everybody can see that I've been on the earth for a little bit. And I will tell you, I've worked for multinational corporations. I've traveled the globe on their behalf. And at the same time, I've also looked at what is happening here in our country and the impact that globalization has had. So this conference, where we bring together people from a variety of backgrounds with a variety of experiences, is so important. And I stand with the program and its continuation so that we can see greater understanding over the years. So the topic that was given to me was something that I feel is very near and dear to me. And it's very, very interesting that my computer is actually responding to the fact that I have another activity going on. And here we go. So character, ethics, and integrity, a woman's value in civic responsibility, governance, and living in the world was the topic that I was assigned. And I want to just tell you, in 1985, I started my first job after college. I had internships in the past, but this was my first salaried position as an adult. The days were nonstop, and the personalities I encountered seemed endless. A common activity that occurred was what I will call the pull aside. When someone says they're looking out for your best interest and pulls you aside to tell you something about a coworker, supervisor, or the company as a whole. Some may call it gossip. For the purposes of this talk, I will call it the pull aside. I realized in those moments that I knew nothing about the person I just met to know if what they were saying to me about another person I had just met was true. From that first week forward, I had a simple prayer, which was, Lord, you know everyone I meet, every situation I encounter, before it even occurs. Guide me so I know what to say, when to say, or if not to say it at all. But show me how to handle each day. So I provide this prayer or mindset to introduce the topic I was assigned, which is character, ethics, and integrity, a woman's value in civic responsibility, governance, and living in the world. According to vocabulary.com, quote, I quote, integrity is a personal quality of fairness that we all aspire to, unless you're a dishonest, immoral scoundrel, of course. That's what vocabulary.com says. Having integrity means doing the right thing in a reliable way. It's a personality trait that we admire, since it means a person has a moral compass that doesn't waver. It literally means having wholeness of character, just as an integer is a whole number with no fractions. Physical objects can display integrity too. If you're going over a rickety old bridge that sways in the wind, you might question its structural integrity. And so that concludes the quote from vocabulary.com. I thought it was something worthwhile to provide the backdrop for what I'm about to say. Because the key phrase in that definition is right thing. What is the right thing? So I will give you the criteria I use for what the right thing is. Does it bring order or a sense to a matter of concern? Does it identify all the moving parts and provide remedy for what is ailing or debilitating the parts functioning at their fullest potential? Does it uplift? Does it encourage? Is it just? Or at least fair? Does it empower? If something is lost, does it need to be reclaimed or rehabilitated? These are the questions that help me determine what is the right thing. Here's what we have to understand that is often uncomfortable, but part of the world we live in. The right thing is often determined by differing sets of criteria that we might not all agree upon. So what do? We must focus on outcomes and impact and navigate through challenging situations in which we don't know what the end may bring. That is why the term moral compass exists. If your North Star is empowerment, equity, or inclusion, the paths you choose will move you towards that outcome. If you are also concerned about financial solvency, cooperation, speed, or efficiency, those magnetic pulls may move your outcomes in a slightly different location than anticipated. What you and only you can do is consider what path you are taking and what you will be at peace with when you get there. As women, we are part of a transitional world, one that in our lifetime has gradually changed its tone towards the internal compass that exists within so many of us because of how we were raised or trained to believe about ourselves. I will not attempt to list those traits because they are as varied as our fingerprints. I will, however, speak to the experience of a person born a woman who entered the circle of what traditionally has been defined as male-dominated industries. For me, it has been sports and finance. What I have found wherever I go and whatever I do, my contribution as a woman has been hospitality, consideration, looking at the bigger picture, uncovering the hidden and undervalued aspects of a matter that through improvement may generate the greatest return. I will close on this note. Recognize all the attributes of who you are each day and see where they resonate. What do you sense an affinity with? And what do you know to be in alignment with the criteria you have set for determining what is right? Not what you hope is right, not what others think may be right, but in your heart, you can be at peace with as right. Because ultimately, that is what will give you the capacity to sleep peacefully at night and awaken to take on new challenges each day. Thank you.
Cheryl, as always, you're amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your words of wisdom. What resonates is pretty much every sentence there. I took so many pages of notes on what I'll be going back later. So thank you very much for inspiring us today and reaffirming what we're all working so hard to be. So as Cheryl turns off her camera and microphone, it is my pleasure, yes, indeed, to bring up Zaneta Bell, as she is going to be sharing a lyrical word with us. And this is the phenomenal nature of what we do here. We can express ourselves more than just dressing up and, you know, saying something important. This is about music. This is about poetry. This is about experience. This is about all that we have that is going on together. I love all the feeds and comments that's happening on the right-hand side there. So I hope everyone gets an opportunity to look at what's going on. So as we call Zaneta Bell up to the stage, let me know if there's any delay on this one along what we have. But I can't thank enough. As you can see, we're trying to keep things moving. We're up to 73 individuals in this room together. So close your eyes, see the room that's full in front, so that you know that we're definitely not alone here and all that's going on, and keep the feed going, because that is so encouraging to us that are just speaking to ourselves in the middle of a room in our house, which is great. Also, as Zaneta's going to be working with us. And then after that, we've got a couple more things. And quickly, it'll be amazing how then we're giving awards and heading to our first networking session. So take some notes down of who you want to, sneak up on, be able to have a great conversation with. So, all right. So I am getting up some updates here. Let's see. Pull up. All right. So I'm waiting for confirmation that Zaneta is still coming up. So if someone wouldn't mind shooting me a text or leaving it in the thread over here. So just so you know, for those of you who are not on the back end, all of us have gone through a rehearsal. Things are appearing here. The camera is working. So I will gently step aside here. Can someone give a thumbs up on that camera that we're ready to go? All right, awesome. My pleasure. Good to see you, my friend. I'll be back in just a little.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Zaneta Bell, and I'm so excited to be a part of this year's Women's History Month event 2021. Today, I will be performing for you guys an original composition intertwined with some text from a known poet. So I hope you guys enjoy. I hope that it speaks to the various women with your varied experiences and stories, and it's even insightful to the men as well. While I am encouraged by the work that we've accomplished so far here, there's still more work to be done. So without further ado, this piece is for the valiant women that refuse to give up, even when the odds look stacked against them, or they're told it's a male-dominated world. This piece is for every woman whose no became a yes. This piece is for every woman whose voice speaks louder than the voices of those I suppose, trying to dole them out or convince them to maintain the status quo. But whoa, why would I do that? Dim my light just so others around me can feel more comfortable. As poet Marianne Williamson wrote, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that so frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others around you can feel less insecure. We were all meant to shine, just like children do. So rather than keep me and confine me under your authority or dominating supremacy, it's time for you to stretch me and give me the opportunity to lead fearlessly, because these ideologies, notions, social constructs, and biases still exist within our societies that place men in higher positions of power, influence, delegation, and authority, even when they bear the same qualifications, training, expertise as a woman. So this piece is for every woman willing to fight until equity and equality is realized. Women like Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Wells, Susan Anthony, and Frances Harper, who fought for broad-based economic and political equality, as well as social reform, and who also helped to pave the way for the right for women to vote in elections. So as we as women,
We're dynamic, powerful, influential, multifaceted, driven, and passionate. As we are strong, fierce, assertive leaders, we are also natural nurturers, caregivers, accommodators, and game changers. So I challenge you, the next time you see his name written, the next time you hear his voice, remember her. Yes, her. She, the woman, women, whose contributions, whose fearlessness, whose brilliant ideas, whose ferocity, whose nurture, whose game-changing spirit very well made that thing possible. Thank you.
A tremendous round of applause. Thank you so very much. Okay, we're turning it off, but love it. So what powerfulness. Thank you for your voice and thank you for inspiring us with what you chose to share today. So as we continue on, I would love to bring Kassie Hilgert up to the stage right now. So Kassie is going to inspire us in talking about daring to lead. I mean, think about that, daring to lead. How often are we trying to hide from leading? Like in school, my kids' school, I've always made sure I'm the parent that signs up for the paper plates because I don't want to show I'm too capable for anything. But I think it's the opposite. Cassie's going to lead us through the vulnerability, bravery, and courage of leadership. So Kassie, thank you so much for being here today. It is my pleasure to introduce you.
Deb, thank you so much for having me. And I want to thank Ngozi and the entire team for this opportunity. I'm humbled to be in front of such an amazing group of attendees and speakers. And if I ever do this again, I'm going to ask to be first because I can't follow any of these women. You all have been so inspirational and wonderful, and I appreciate this opportunity. Before we get into vulnerability, bravery, and courage of leadership, I must share that I can't think of a better title that encapsulates 2020 and now 2021 than the title of this session. We are all living through our own versions of vulnerability, bravery, courage, and yes, leadership. It may not seem like it, but you are all being brave. You are all being courageous during a time of absolute vulnerability to something we cannot see nor control. And I applaud every single one of you. Professor, lecturer, author, and podcast host Brene Brown suggests that vulnerability is a crucial leadership quality, actually one of the must-have strengths for a leader to succeed in today's business world. She defines vulnerability as uncertain, risk, and emotional exposure, and suggests that it takes courage to be a vulnerable leader. While I agree with this, I would argue that it doesn't take courage to be a vulnerable leader. Rather, embracing vulnerability creates courageous leaders. Vulnerability is one of the most constant states when it comes to leadership. And I learned this from one of my first mentors, Sally Gammon, who was then the president and CEO of Good Shepherd Rehabilitation Network. She taught me that as a leader, you are rarely going to be the expert in the room. If you've done the right thing and surrounded yourself with smart people, or as my dad always told me, hire people smarter than you, then your vulnerability suddenly becomes a strength when you can leverage the collective wisdom of the people around you to solve a problem or achieve a goal. That is one of your greatest accomplishments as a leader, removing the obstacles of those you lead so they can be their best selves. And by the way, when you do that, be sure you give away the credit, or at least stand in the back of the line when it comes to taking the credit. Since we can't escape being vulnerable, I encourage you all to get very comfortable with it. Don't shy away from it. Dig deep into what makes you vulnerable. Crawl around in and push and poke at things that scare you, because vulnerability literally creates bravery and courage. In fact, I don't think you can have courage and bravery without vulnerability. So here's how I look at it. Vulnerability is just a confidence we don't have yet. And let me give you a couple of examples. Back in 2007, I was working for a Fortune 300 company. I had a good job managing the company's philanthropic efforts locally here in the Lehigh Valley and across North America. I had a pretty clear career path for the future, and things were pretty comfortable. Then I met this guy, Jeff Parks, who started Music Fest and Artsquest, and he had this vision of turning a portion of the nation's largest brownfield under redevelopment into an internationally known arts and cultural district, and he wanted me to join the team to make that vision a reality. This, to me, was crazy. But the more we talked, the more intrigued I was, and I felt a fire in my belly to get involved. He wanted me to head up their fundraising efforts, but there was one small problem. I had never done that. Nonetheless, in November 2008, I left the corporate culture and joined Artsquest. Shortly after I resigned, I was talking with a colleague, and I told her that, frankly, I was having a panic attack. What made me think I could do this? What was I doing leaving a corporate behemoth and joining what was then a tiny arts nonprofit? More than one person had questioned my sanity, my thought process, and my chances at success. I had never raised a dollar in my life, and I felt very vulnerable. My colleague listened to me patiently, pulled $1 from her pocket, gave it to me, and said, "There, you raised $1. Now get on with it." I have that $1 framed in my office. It was given to me from a friend. Sharing that vulnerability with someone I respected helped me create the courage to jump into the great unknown. As Nelson Mandela once said, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Over time, I was part of the team that helped to raise the $26 million needed to build the new Artsquest Center at Steel Stacks. Specifically, I was in charge of raising $5 million from the corporate community. And while that may sound like an accomplishment, I had to hear no from almost $30 million worth of asks. Some would say I failed more than I succeeded. Rejection can certainly make you feel vulnerable, but the more comfortable I got with that rejection, the less scared I was of it, and the more eager I was to hear yes. Today, Steel Stacks has received both the Rudy Bruner Award for Urban Excellence and the Urban Land Institute for Global Award for Excellence. Only 3 cities in U.S. history have won both of those: San Francisco, Boston, and now Bethlehem. Let's fast forward to 2020. Artsquest was coming off one of its strongest years in terms of programming and support. I had been in a leadership role as president and CEO for almost 6 years. And while every year brought new challenges and hence new vulnerabilities, nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared us for what happened when the pandemic hit and the entire world shut down. Over the years, we have worked hard to diversify how we've raised money so we aren't reliant on one major funding stream. We have sponsorships, we have memberships, we have donations, we have ticket sales, we have private events, all of which support our free programming and, most importantly, relied on bringing large numbers of people together. And then it all evaporated overnight without any idea when things would return to normal. Talk about vulnerable. In those early days, my senior team and I set up daily meetings just to figure out how to keep the doors open. Every morning felt like putting out 1,000 fires, only to have 1,000 fires start up each night. You could feel the uncertainty, the fear among all of us on those calls, including myself. Just like I shared my fears and vulnerabilities with my colleagues about joining Artsquest, I encouraged all of us to share what we were scared of. And in doing that, it was like once we said those fears out loud, they lost their power. Sharing our vulnerabilities helped us to find commonality, and we quickly shifted to other times in our history when we had faced the unknown, from starting a little music festival in 1984 to surviving countless floods to plopping an arts district in the middle of a brownfield. As I said earlier, we crawled around in and pushed and poked at the things that scared us. And in doing so, we began to find the collective courage to put one foot in front of the other. By the end of 2020, we had managed to completely reinvent ourselves. We held 6 of our 11 festivals in a pandemic, countless online arts classes for the public and Bethlehem area school district, as well as other school districts we had never worked with. We held Music Fest, which was mostly streamed and broadcast, but it did include 6 outdoor socially distanced live performances. We took the nation's largest free music festival and turned it into a 10-day TV and streaming show. In the matter of a few months, we went from building stages and tents to being TV and digital producers. The 2020 Music Fest announcement alone got $1.3 billion or 1.3 total media impressions, with national coverage from the Associated Press, Miami Herald, Kansas City Star, US News and World Reports, and more. We had social influencers who led a campaign that got us 32 million impressions. More than 2.2 million people watched Music Fest 2020, which is double the attendance we've ever had in person. We had 90 acts, all of them paid, by the way, and we had viewers from 50 states from as far away as Japan and Australia. And as far as those in-person events, about 20,000 people went to the Food Festigo vendors and supported them, attended one of those 6 sold-out shows, went to Steel Stacks or bought merchandise at one of our stores on the north side and the south side. Music Fest gave us the courage to reinvent Christkindl Mart, which started early last year on October 8th and ran on the weekends through December 6th. We had 60 vendors from 10 states and over 40,000 attendees, which is roughly half of what we would have in a normal year. But get this, the vendors, many of whom had no other revenue from any other events in 2020 except for Christkindl Mart, made just as much, if not more, than their watermark year, which was just in 2019. Now look, we didn't do this alone. We had amazing sponsors like Service Electric, Yingling, and 40 other sponsors throughout 2020, as well as hundreds and thousands of donors. This goes back to the leadership and what I mentioned before about surrounding yourself with people smarter than you. There was no way we could have done anything that we did in 2020 by ourselves. But what we could do was lead with a vision for how the arts could connect us all during such dark times, and then go out and find the partners and individuals who had the expertise in the areas we did not, whether that was Service Electric and their expertise in broadcast, or the City of Bethlehem Health Department, who in the middle of all they were doing, showed us how to safely gather people through a pandemic, socially distanced and wearing masks. It's 2021, and while there is hope on the horizon, we, like every other arts organization, are nowhere near out of the woods. Every day is a struggle for survival, but we have found a new level of courage, which was born out of our deepest vulnerability, and that was merely surviving. In my short time today, I hope I've shared a few examples of the importance of embracing vulnerability in order to develop the courage and bravery to lead, whether that is to lead yourself through adversity or a team of people. It is my belief that a true leader does not ask people to follow. Rather, the true leader asks people to walk with her on a collective journey of bravery and courage. Thank you again for giving me this time, and I look forward to being again in person with all of you one day so that we may share our collective bravery and courage together. Thank you.
Kassie, thank you. You have just collected all of our courage. And right now, I wish in being together to, storm the Artsquest right now in celebration. So thank you so much. That is a hugely relevant story to all of us because, anyone of anything in the Lehigh Valley knows exactly what you're talking about. And it's the amazing nature of whether you were a stay-at-home parent now stuck at home or an incredible business operation such as you were going through similar emotions. It was even a mourning process at times to figure out what is next. And you just encapsulated, and many of the comments, caught on it, that when you stare down that fear and you name it, it doesn't have a chance to come back again. So please never introduce yourself by saying you can't follow anyone, because you are certainly leading at this moment of time. So any final words, Kassie, before I introduce what is happening next?
No, please. I know we've got an exciting agenda, and I thank you again, Ngozi, and the entire team for having this amazing event.
Awesome. All right. Feel free to shut down that camera and we'll move on to what is next. And it is my pleasure to reintroduce Mayor O'Connell as he is going to give us a little introduction to our first awards we're going to be handing out. And then I'll bring up Ngozi. Thank you, Mayor O'Connell, so much for that introduction. And it is my pleasure to bring back to the stage here Ngozi. Please come on up so we can hand out some awesome awards to some amazing women. And while we're waiting for Ngozi to come on up, again, to summarize what we have going on, our award recipients are going to speak. We are going to acknowledge what is happening next, but we're heading to a networking time, so make that list of who you want to track down. So Ngozi, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. You have been amazing, and honestly, I've been so excited just listening to all the talks. And you said the exact thing about Kassie. That was a fantastic speech, and Cheryl and everyone else. I'm so inspired. So this award, the first award is actually what is called the Gatherers Award. And it is given to a woman who successfully gathers and brings people and ideas together to manifest the power of purpose, partnership, friendship, and love, right? She uses the common thread of self-leadership, discipline, passion, and expertise. And what is so amazing is, we got this award, we put these awards out in 2020. And as I was thinking about them for 2021, and we said, 2020 was a tough year for everyone. So we must honor these women that people sent in information on. As I was just thinking about them, I literally was able to connect every woman to the right award. And I was like, wow, this shows that these women exemplify exactly what people thought they were. So to Dr. Angela Ekwaide, so congratulations. To Reverend Carrie Holmes, congratulations. And of course, to my friend, Jane Wells Cooley, congratulations. So we're going to give them a few minutes to say a few words and just hear from them for all the wonderful work they do. Thank you, ladies. And so everybody sees, I don't know if you can see this. This is actually a proclamation from the city. So these are beautiful awards that will be mailed to each of them. They're all individual proclamations, and the proclamation is really long, but pretty fantastic. So something that they will proudly display and hopefully set up in a very visible place. So really, really beautiful, very formal. Thank you. Thank you.
Should we begin?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here, and I want to say Happy Women's History Month. And I have a couple of mentors I would like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Pastor Melanie Sally DeSumo, Reverend Gladys Duke, Miss Ngozi Bell, Dr. Aya Marie Gooden. And I'd like to say thank you to my churches, Spirit Temple Bible Church Bethlehem and Reading, and my California church, RCCG Peace Assembly. As a clinical psychologist, I've had the opportunity to wear many hats in the Lehigh Valley. I had the opportunity to be on the executive board for the Lehigh Valley Professionals, and those are a group of individuals who are unemployed and looking for work, to be a substitute teacher, mentor, friend, sister in Christ, and also to be on the board of directors for the Nehemiah Wall. So in all my experiences, some things that came to mind when I think of women and I think of girls, I think women have been through so many things. And I just want to offer just a little encouragement, just with a word of prayer. I mean, not a prayer, sorry, a little poem, sorry. And I would want I want them to be open to opportunities like the Leadership Without Limits Institute, sponsored by Promise Neighborhood, Dr. Hassan Boss and Phyllis Alexander. Maybe to become a magistrate district judge. I could tell you more about that. Or one of the things I find that interrupts a person's pathway to greatness is that lack of ability to love themselves because of things that they've gone through. So I just have this quick poem I'd like to share with you. It's called Am I Lovable? What about the word love that seems so fleeting? Joe lives around the corner. Almost every day he says to me, you are beautiful. What does Joe know about love? He's been sitting on that same corner for years. Joe has no teeth, although he does have a good heart. Joe doesn't know my story. I dropped out of school in the 8th grade. I had 4 children before the age of 18. I ask, am I lovable? Why is love so fleeting? All 4 of my babies' daddies said they loved me. In the beginning, they doted on me, pampered me, bought me things until they didn't. All that so-called love faded away quickly. I ask again, am I lovable? I cry myself to sleep at night silently. I bear the scars of domestic violence. I feel orphaned by my parents because they left me with relatives at birth. Why is love so fleeting? Until one day, my friend Marcus invited me to church. People shared about the miracle of God, the love of Jesus. All I had to do was acknowledge, confess, believe, and obey God's words. I ask again, am I lovable? I fell on my knees, felt lighter than air. I felt peace. It was as if a whisper of the wind filled my heart. I felt secure. I felt loved. I no longer ask the question, am I lovable? Love is no longer fleeting. God is love. Hallelujah. It is this overflow of love of my community that drives me to connect with people, organizations, and ideas. I encourage each woman to not put your dreams aside, if possible, incorporate them into your life. Find like-minded people and pray about it. I encourage people to get mentors, stand tall, take your spot as a lovable, capable leader in 2020, 2021 is your year. I went out in a venture myself. It's called Love Black Partners. And what that is a setting up, is a Black dating service. So that's my entrepreneurship for this year as a strong woman. So I just want to thank you again for this opportunity, prestigious award of Rising Together, being the Gather Award. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Angela, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that a lot myself.
Thank you.
So thank you, Ngozi, and all the people who are attending today, because it's such an honor to be here, even though it's in my little sunroom, feeling probably like Dr. Angela does in her room. But I can feel you all, and I can feel you there. And I thought about being a gatherer, and I guess that suits me. But I couldn't be a gatherer without the hundreds and hundreds of people who show up like magic in my life, that bring resources and that bring connections and bring opportunities and gifts to gather. So the gifts I find are to love and support others who are needing us at critical times. And so as participants in this conference, I want you to know that you have also received an award that you've given yourself. And that is the most important award anybody can have. And that's the award of being present, choosing to be present. And today you chose to be present at this conference. And to me, presence is really the key to growth and to connection in life. And so as Christine said earlier, Christina-Ochola said, I see you. And I want you to know today that, and every day, I see you as a participant in this conference. And one of my all-time favorite poets now, I would like to quote Amanda Gorman, for there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it, and if only we're brave enough to be it. So I thank you for this award, and I challenge each and every participant to be the light. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about the delay. It's when you're trying to click as quick as possible and it just doesn't work. But what phenomenal, again, inspirations as we aspire to do more. We're inspired by one another. And the break has come. This is now the time where V-Summits, this window per se, will be disappearing. We will be back to the floor. We're up to 80 participants. Congratulations. If you have logged in and this was the viewpoint, you're about to see something very different. It's going to be literally a virtual floor map that you interact or are in control of. So click as you go around, join tables, find people who you want to introduce yourself to. We're going to take a good 10 minutes. So right now it's 1:55 according to me. So probably around 2:05 is when everything will swoop over. It controls you. It's not like you can linger out in the hallway when things are starting. So it's going to start at that moment of time. I am being asked to give emphasis that on these tables and on, of course, virtual, there's trivia. There's other things. Yes, so there's get on networking, get on the whiteboard. There's going to be volunteers also walking around from table to table to help you out. So ask questions. But it has been my pleasure and privilege to be your first MC of today. The awesome favorite Ufandu is up next as when we come back. Deb Colitas, please connect with me on LinkedIn. We're happy to be a help to you at any time. And thank you, V-Summits and Ngozi. Let's do some networking and have some fun together. Thank you, my friends.